Picking up with lesson 2.3 benchmark percents, it says a benchmark percent is a percent that's commonly used, such as 1%, 5%, 10, 25, 50, and 100. With fractions and decimals, benchmarks can be used to make estimations. With percents, however, you can use benchmarks to calculate any whole number percent. Okay, so there you see the fraction bars that kind of show the percents. Use this tape diagram. How is 50% related to 100%? Well, I can see 50% is half of 100. How's 25% related to 100? Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So 25% is 1/4 of 100. How's 25% related to 50? Well, it takes two 25s to make a 50, so it would be half of 50. How is 10% related to 100? Well, here's my 100 at the top, and here's my 10s, and there are, no surprise, 10 of them. So it is 1/10 of 100. How's 10% related to 50? Well, for 50, I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. So 10% is 1/5 of 50. All right, let's keep going. Continue that pattern from the tape diagram to show how does 5% relate to 10%? Well, 5%, if I added those, would be down here, 5 and 5. So 5% is half of 10%. And how is 1% related to 10? Well, if I took this 10% and then I made 10 little ones, I would see 1% is 1/10 of 10%. Oh, not 1/2, 1/10, excuse me. And I would see that 1% is 1/5 of 5%, because it would take 5 of them to get 5. All right, so use those benchmark percents to determine each value if 600 is 100%. Okay, so if I'm dealing with 600, excuse me, 50% of 600 is like saying half of 600. And half of 600 is 300. Half. 25% of 600 is like saying 1/4 of 600. So half of 600 is 300, and half of 300 is 150. Or I could take 600 divided by 4. Let's see, 10% of 600. Well, 10% of 600 is like 1/10 of it. And so that would be like saying 60, moving in 1. 5% of 600. Well, if 10% of 600 is 60, 5% would be half of that, so it must be 30. And 1% of 600 is like saying 1/5 of this guy. So 30 divided by 5 is 6. That's one way I could look at it. There's lots of different ways I could look at it. So I can use these benchmark percents to help me come up with percents of numbers. Let's keep trying. Use your calculator to determine the percent of each number. Remember, to find a percent of a number, you first want to take the percent, 1%, and change it into a decimal, 1, 2. And then on your calculator, you could type in 0.01 times 28. Otherwise, on your calculator, you would want to type 1% times 28. So you'd want to type in 1, the regular number 1, and then the percent key times 28. Either way, you end up with this, 0.28. Go ahead and pause the video now and use your calculator to figure out 1% or 10% of all the rest of the numbers. All right, so as you can see, whether you followed with me or did them on your calculator, the next question on this next page says, what patterns do we notice? What pattern? Well, to go from 1% to 10%, 1% to 10, 1 to 10, 1 to 10, 1 to 10. Every single time, I'm just noticing that you're just moving the decimal point. And from where it was originally, it looks like for 1% you move it 2 places, and for 10% you move it 1 place, not 2 places. Let's see. On this one, you'd move it 1 place. On this one, you move it 2 places. Yeah, I think that's what's happening. Every single time, 2 places for 1%, and I move it 1 place for 10%. Interesting. All right. Well, what's a rule then to calculate 1% of any number? Well, if I move the decimal two places left, I'll have 1% of the number. And 10% of any number, if I move the decimal one place left, I'll have 1% of the number. Interesting. All right, well, let's try that out. Use the patterns that you recognize to calculate each value, this time without a calculator. So let's see. It's 10%, and 10% it says I have to move the decimal 1 place. So if I go 1 place, 4.521. Could check it on my calculator, and yes, that is in fact what you get. For 1%, I'd move it 2 places, so I'd end up with this. Check it on my calculator, I bet I'm right. 1 place left for 10%, 0.72. 2 places left for 1%, 0.0072. 1 place becomes 285.4. And 2 places becomes 28.54. That works pretty well. Okay, last section. Turn the page, 2.4. Deciding how much to tip. Ooh, that's one place we use percents in the real world all the time. Let's see what these two say. Akiro eats at the Eat and Talk restaurant, decides to leave a 15% tip, which is pretty standard. Akiro says, I can easily calculate 10% of any number. I can too, because I just figured out how to do that. And then I calculate half of that, which is 5%. I can add those two together to get 15%. Is that reasonable? Yeah, that totally makes sense to me. Yes, that is a reasonable idea. How much should he leave for a tip on $16? Well, let's test this out. If it's $16 and I want to leave 10%, that's 1 place to the left, so that's $1.60. And then half of $1.60 is like half of 16, kind of, and that would be 80 cents. And if I add those two together, I would leave a tip of $2.40, and that is 15% of the number. Well, this works pretty slick. I bet I could even do this in my head if I didn't have a calculator with me out when I was eating. Let's try 15% of each check. So if I have $24, first of all, 10% of that would be $2.40. And half of 240 would be 120.
Logan Haugen to the office, please. Logan Haugen
Add them
to the
up,
office.
and it's $3.60 tip. $32.56 move the decimal one place, that'd be 3.256. Half of that would be 1.628. Add those up and you get 4.884, but we're talking money, so I'm just going to call it $4.88 to round. And the last one, $47. If I move it one place, that's $4.70. Half of that would be $2.35. Add those together, that'd be a $7.05
Staff, if you have bus duty,
tip.
please head out to the bus loop now. Any staff that has
Okay.
bus duty, please head out to the bus loop.
Last thing I want to show you is how can you use 10, 5, and or 1% to determine the percent of any number. So if I had to find 18% of a number, I could break it down, right? I could think, what is 10%? I could also think, if I did 10% twice, that would make 20% of a number, right? I could also do 1% of the number, and I could do that again. That'd be 2% of the number, and then I could just subtract the 20% minus the 2%. It's probably easier using a calculator, but I can definitely do it in my head if I need to. What about 25%? Well, if it's 25%, I would probably find 50% of the number, or half of it, and then I would probably find half of that 50% to get 25% of the number. 37%? Well, I know I could find 10%. I could do that 4 times. Or 3 times. I could do it 3 times. With the 7%, I could do 5% by taking half of the 10. Figure what that is. That's 35. And then I could do 1% and 1%. And I could add them all together. So there's definitely some mental math strategies that go into finding percent of a number. We can always rely on our calculator when we use the decimal version of it. But it's good to have some mental math strategies, especially if you're figuring out tip or something like that where you might not have access. Okay.